If I play that recording tonight, my daughter's wedding will be over. But if I stay silent, I might be watching her entire life fall apart. That thought crossed Michael Carter's mind as he watched his daughter, Samantha Carter, walk toward the stage in her wedding dress. The wedding was being held at a beautiful venue in Nashville, Tennessee. Samantha looked happier than Michael had ever seen her. She was marrying Ethan Brooks, a successful businessman she deeply loved. Michael had trusted Ethan because he believed his daughter deserved someone who would make her happy. Michael's wife, Rachel Carter, sat beside him, smiling through tears as she watched her daughter begin a new chapter of her life. Everything looked perfect. Until dinner. While reaching for a glass, Rachel accidentally knocked it over. Water spilled across Ethan's expensive suit. Rachel immediately stood up. "Ethan, I'm so sorry. It was an accident." Ethan stared at the wet spot on his jacket. "You always make mistakes like this." Rachel's face turned red with embarrassment. Michael calmly said, "Ethan, it was just an accident." Ethan suddenly raised his voice. "An accident? Your wife brings problems wherever she goes." Several guests at the table fell silent. Samantha looked at her husband in disbelief. "Ethan, don't talk to my mom like that." But Ethan wasn't finished. "You don't even know what your mother is really like. She's been causing problems between us for years." Tears filled Rachel's eyes. Michael slowly stood. "Don't disrespect my wife." Ethan stepped closer and lowered his voice. "Don't threaten me. You have no idea what I'm capable of." Michael stared directly into Ethan's eyes. For the first time that night, he saw something behind Ethan's anger. Fear. Samantha grabbed her father's hand. "Dad, please, it's my wedding. I don't want this day ruined." Michael looked at his daughter and forced himself to sit back down. But inside his jacket pocket was a small USB drive. 3 weeks earlier, Michael had accidentally recorded a conversation involving Ethan. What he heard that day had forced him to quietly investigate his future son-in-law. He'd discovered financial documents suggesting that Ethan wasn't simply interested in marrying Samantha, he was also interested in their family's money. Michael had kept the discovery secret because he didn't want to destroy his daughter's happiness without absolute proof. Then Ethan walked back toward him. "If you interfere with my life," Ethan whispered, "Samantha will never forgive you." Michael reached into his pocket and felt the USB drive beneath his fingers. For the first time that night, he realized something terrifying. Maybe staying silent wasn't no longer protecting his daughter. Maybe it was putting her in even greater danger. And as the wedding celebration continued around him, Michael made a decision that could change everything. He would wait, but only until Ethan gave him one more reason to press play. The wedding celebration tried to continue, but the atmosphere had completely changed. Samantha was worried. Rachel sat quietly at the table, still shaken by Ethan's cruel words. Michael watched his daughter carefully, while Ethan kept glancing in his direction. Finally, Samantha walked over to her father. "Dad, Ethan was angry. Can't you just forgive him?" Michael looked at her sadly. "Do you really believe he was only angry?" Samantha didn't answer. Before she could say anything else, Ethan approached them. "What are you telling Samantha about me?" Michael remained calm. "I'm trying to protect my daughter." Ethan laughed bitterly. "You have no right to destroy my marriage." Michael reached into his pocket and pulled out the small USB drive. "If you're so certain I'm lying, then let's listen to the recording in front of everyone." Ethan's expression changed instantly. "Michael, don't do this." Samantha stared at her husband. "Why are you so scared?" Michael connected the USB drive to the hall's sound system. A few seconds later, Ethan's voice echoed through the room. "After the wedding, we need to get Samantha away from her parents, especially Rachel." Samantha's face went pale. Rachel covered her mouth with her hand. The recording continued.
As long as her mother is close to her, Samantha will question everything I do. We need to make Rachel look unstable." Whispers spread throughout the room. Ethan suddenly shouted, "That recording is fake!" Michael said nothing. The recording continued. "If Samantha believes Rachel is mentally unstable, she'll distance herself from her on her own." Tears rolled down Samantha's cheeks. "You wanted to do that to my mother?" Ethan had no answer, but the recording wasn't over. Another voice could be heard. "And what about Samantha's property?" Ethan answered calmly. "Once we're married, getting her to sign the papers won't be difficult." Samantha turned toward her husband. "What property?" Michael finally spoke. "Your grandmother's property." Ethan immediately interrupted. "Michael, you're misunderstanding everything." But the next sentence destroyed his argument. Ethan's recorded voice said, "Rachel has to be out of the way first. Then Michael will be easy to silence. He'll do anything for his daughter." Samantha stared at Ethan as if she no longer recognized him. "Did you marry me because you loved me?" Ethan opened his mouth, but no words came out. Michael stopped the recording. Then he looked at his daughter. "Samantha, there's one final part, and it may be the most important." Ethan suddenly shouted, "Don't play it!" Michael looked directly at him. "This decision isn't mine anymore. It belongs to my daughter." Samantha wiped her tears from her face. "Play it, Dad." She took a deep breath. "I want to hear the whole truth." Michael pressed the button. The room fell completely silent, and as the final recording began to play, Ethan realized that the secret he had spent weeks protecting was about to be exposed in front of everyone he had tried to impress.
Michael pressed the button, and the final recording began to play. Ethan's voice filled the wedding hall. Michael thinks he's protecting his daughter, but he has no idea how easy everything will become once Samantha signs those papers. Samantha stood completely still. The recording continued. "After the wedding, the property will be ours, and if Rachel becomes a problem, we'll make Samantha believe her own mother is the enemy." Rachel covered her mouth as tears streamed down her face. Samantha slowly looked at Ethan. "You planned all of this?" Ethan stepped toward her. "Samantha, please, you have to understand." "No, I've heard enough." The recording continued. Ethan's voice became even clearer. "Once Samantha trusts me completely, she'll sign whatever I put in front of her. By the time she realizes what happened, it will be too late." The recording stopped. For several seconds, nobody moved. The music had stopped, the conversations had stopped, even the waiters stood frozen. Samantha looked down at her wedding ring. Then she looked at Ethan. "You didn't marry me because you loved me." Ethan shook his head desperately. "That's not true. I do love you." Samantha's eyes filled with tears. "Love doesn't separate someone from their family. Love doesn't destroy a mother's reputation, and love certainly doesn't involve stealing someone's property." Ethan tried to reach for her hand. Samantha stepped backward. "Don't touch me." Immediately, Rachel walked toward her. Samantha turned and hugged her mom. "Mom, I'm so sorry." Rachel held her tightly. "You have nothing to apologize for." Michael watched them, fighting back his own tears. Finally, Samantha turned toward her father. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" Michael took a deep breath. "Because I was afraid you would think I was trying to control your life. I wanted you to make your own decision. I just needed to know the truth before I destroyed something you believed in." Samantha nodded through her tears. "You saved me." Michael shook his head. "No, I only gave you the truth. You saved yourself when you chose to believe it." Then Michael pulled out his phone. "There's something else you need to know." Ethan's expression changed. Michael continued. "I sent copies of the recording and the financial documents to my attorney before tonight." Ethan froze. "You did what?" Michael looked at him calmly. "I knew that if you were innocent, you would have nothing to fear."
Ethan suddenly realized that his entire plan had collapsed. Within weeks, Samantha began divorce proceedings. The financial documents were reviewed by attorneys, and Ethan's attempts to gain control of Samantha's property became a part of a formal investigation. The wedding was over, but Samantha's life was not. Months later, Samantha sat with Michael and Rachel in their backyard in Nashville. The evening was peaceful. Samantha looked at her father. "Dad, you didn't save my wedding." Michael smiled sadly. "I know. You saved my life." Michael reached across the table and held her hand. "I just couldn't stand by and watch someone I loved walk into a trap." Samantha leaned over and hugged him. That night, Michael finally understood something he would never forget. Sometimes parents hide painful truths because they believe silence will protect their children. But when a lie begins destroying someone's life, silence is no longer protection. It becomes part of the danger. Samantha lost a husband that night, but she gained something far more important: her freedom, her family, and the chance to build her future on truth instead of deception. And all it took was one recording that exposed everything, one recording that changed everything.